no, this thing about the school bus.
Yes.
I'm sorry, never mind.
Good evening, everybody.
So that,
We have call to order here, town Ledyard. You guys are meeting in the water sources on Tuesday, June 7th, 2022. Second, call the roll.
Ben?
good stuff.
Not bad. Roll.
Call the roll. What is that? The list of the voters? Yeah. Justin DeBroke,
Present.
Dan Brewer.
Peeler.
Sorry, Peeler.
Present.
Paul Malcolm,
Mogul.
sorry.
Aye.
Beth Reeby here. Sorry. Corey Watford is online.
Here.
Okay. And Gary St. Bill.
Here, present.
And we don't have Glenn Gardner. He's not on.
Present. Get that, Lynn Marie Thompson.
Oh, and
Yeah, Lynn Marie is here.
yes.
Thank you.
I got the first one.
Move on to public comments. Do anybody here from the public who wishes to speak? Familiar faces, I know what you're here for. All right, moving on to old business. We have application 22-6 up in review area for 1954 Center Groton Road. Up review permit, new single family residence with garage. So just like to go over the changes made since our last meeting. Let's go.
Sure. Good evening. For the record, Ian Cole, professional soil scientist, professional wetland scientist, here tonight with the applicant, Mr. Coen, and Pete Gardner, the design engineer. Since last meeting, we had some action items. We went back, revised the plan, so we included a typical driveway cross section has been included on the plans. Went back and did some additional soil testing to revise the septic system a little bit. Basically, just kind of changed the design somewhat of what system they were using. And we also received written health department approval. So that's been provided for the record. And then kind of most importantly, one of the topics of our discussion was, what's going on with the stormwater coming off the road, crown of the road. So to that point, the applicant, the engineer, the town engineer, Steve Masalin, and town staff met out on the site. And basically what was discussed was the kind of practical solution of putting a 1.5 inch lip at the edge of the driveway to kind of maintain the existing kind of flow dynamics along the gutter flow. The caveat to that being, as I guess, what I would suggest would be an order of condition of approval would be that if for whatever reason that was not holding up, that an enforceable action could be to go back and put in some type of formal swale to do it that way to the satisfaction of town staff and Steve Masalin. So, and basically what that would look like, basically putting in a swale and discharging it back to that collection point that DOT maintains. So those are kind of the changes in a nutshell. So I'm here tonight and so is Pete Gardner, if you have any site plan questions.
How would you determine if the lip was holding up or not?
Pete Gardner. A little more background in what we did at the meeting that we had on site. At that time, we could see where water had discharged off of Ledyard Highway, about 20 feet to the east of this property. The road also has a crown to it, so there's very little water that comes towards this property. What the lip does, it's an 1.5 lip, and that continues to keep the water in the gutter. Because water right now flows in the gutter. And the only way for that to get destroyed is a snowplow to knock it off or something like that. And at that time, it'd be the town's responsibility to put the lip back in.
Would be possible. I don't know if it's possible. Is it can I ask a question? Isn't it possible just to put the swale in now? Is it a tremendous?
There's no need, there's no reason for the swale.
Well, it's just a preventive action for 5 years.
There's no reason for the swale.
The house is 30 years, 40 years, right?
There's no reason for the swale.
At this point in time.
And also didn't that have an impact with Ledyard? No.
Putting a swale in could potentially have an issue because it's creating a drain point.
I sent some pictures, and I don't know, I guess they didn't make it to the agenda.
I didn't make the agenda, no.
Because I know somebody, I thought it was
I
you.
put them online on the agenda online.
Then you can share it right now.
Just share your
Was it-
screen.
I took some pictures of, on the view of, on that side of the road, and there's no evidence of any kind of trenching or anything, it's just, it looks like it's clean, it just flow right off that road through the grassland into the wetlands. So-
It's more sheet flow than
Yeah.
kind of concentrated flow.
There's no erosion at all right there. So.
Mr. Chester, do you have anything else to add from the town's point of view for our meeting?
From what?
From the town's point of view, the meeting you all had?
No, like I said, we met out there, and I think we all agreed that the sheet flow right now looks like it goes off there pretty smoothly. There's no erosion, and I think putting the driveway in, that was the one action we had. That was you put a lip in there so that it would kind of direct, if it wouldn't wash across that. So I think that was a pretty reasonable solution.
And Steve Masalin, Public Works Director, was out there with us too, and Steve's on board with this. We discussed the idea of a swale in case something were to happen, but as I said a couple times, there's no reason to build a swale there at all.
It's just one additional disturbance.
So essentially, the condition would solely be the lip, the 1 inch or 1.5 inch lip. That was the only condition, is what I'm hearing.
That was part of the plan, so it won't be an additional condition.
Okay, it's part of-
We added the lip to the plan as well as the typical town cross section for the driveway, an apron detail. When I say there's a crown to the road, it means just, there's not much water that comes this way anyway.
Is that lip going to be in addition to the driveway? You're going to raise the driveway?
Well, the lip is at the edge of the road.
Yep.
And if I can show you this one. Here's the road, and there's the lip right there.
Okay.
I'm showing Len detail on the left-hand
I
side.
haven't seen this new one.
Okay, sorry about that. On the left-hand side of the sheet that's in front of Len is a cross-section and plan view of the driveway apron. And it shows the lip that's gonna have to be installed.
You sure 1.5 inches is enough, but what about 3 or 4 inches? I mean, does that make it too much of a bump to get in and out of the road with that traffic? I mean,
This is not-
going forward, I'm trying to think forward.
This is not an atypical situation.
I know, it's very unique.
Well, it's nothing unique about the driveway, though.
That's true.
It's a lot of roads that are crowned and water comes towards properties, and the lip will certainly work. The 1.5 inch lip will certainly work.
It looks like that, the flow from along that piece, once we get the pictures up there, I think the flow is so, it's a very long stretch of road where that flow comes off there. And I think there's, like I said, there's no evidence of any erosion right now. It's like, concentrated flow. So I think what we discussed, I think it looks pretty reasonable.
I think a 3 inch lip would honestly create a safety concern because
Right,
you're coming off the
yeah.
road and it's a,
At speed, that would be.
it's a pretty sizable lip to get over unless you're driving a pretty big truck.
Yeah.
You know.
So if you were to create a swale, would it be on either side of the driveway? Is that where you do it?
May
If
I-
you were to do it on the this side or that side here?
I'm gonna
Just
use my pen to point. The water flows this way.
correct. So
If you were to do a swale,
right there.
it would make sense to put it here.
Right.
We're right here, right
You
now.
already have the pipe
We already have the pipe
under the road. Yeah.
under the road, but water does trickle off right here. If you go up there, you see where the millions have scoured out right there. And with the crown of the road, you're looking at a couple hundred square feet that comes this way.
That's not a big deal.
It's not much water. at
It
all.
never really creates enough energy and it doesn't have enough slope to really
Create
take the
the road.
material away. So those millings are kind of heavy in the
You see
water,
that
right?
mossy approach there as well. So
Yeah.
that wouldn't be there if it were. with it more grassy.
Yeah. So you everything that, but, Tom?
What?
Yes.
I don't know.
Do you have any other questions, comments, concerns? Else, you're looking for a motion. We're looking to either approve or disapprove. As is, and approve with conditions.
No, this one that was in the package. Let me see that.
So these are conditions that came up with last week.
So-
Have been more or less incorporated.
Yeah. So it can be as is,
Yeah.
as drawn in the plans.
As revised, as in the revised plan.
This is the plan on file.
Yeah.
So you don't have to say yes.
May I take a look to make sure it's the same one I get one?
Yeah.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay, so. I move to approve this application as is.
Do you want to add that condition that they spoke about? That the lift fail, that the two lens report.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an important.
Or do you want to articulate
Okay,
what-
here, number 5 here on this page, if you want to add that to the motion.
Okay, so I revised my previous statement. I move to approve that the application be approved as is with the following condition. If the lip of the driveway is insufficient to the satisfaction of the town's engineer, the applicant will install a grass swell alongside the driveway to redirect stormwater flow in a managed, responsible way. Right now, I'm blanking on the next thing I'm supposed to say.
That's what
I
you said.
second that motion.
So we have a motion by Mr. Pillar, second by Ms. Freebie. And for the notes, that's number 5 off Ian's report. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you very much. Everybody even better.
Thank you.
So now that that application's been adjudicated, just for my own clarity and edification, it's the town engineer that's going to decide whether or not the internet has.
That's correct. He's the turning point.
So he's the single point. All right.
We go back to him generally
To-
for guidance as
To
well.
take a theoretical situation, if it proves to be a situation that, for whatever reason, the lip, say,
Fails.
just fills with material that causes the water to start running up and over it instead of directing down normally for whatever the hell reason, that might be a failure condition that would lead to the swale, assuming that it's not something,
Yeah, it's all going to be Mr.
That's
Maslin's
maintained.
professional opinion to
yeah.
move that forward to the condition that we said.
But to your
Yeah, that was
point, we do rely on the engineer to go out and look at things because we've had major changes in personnel and things like this. And sometimes the personnel we have are only here two days a week. And so it's good to have someone who's consistently on duty and has seen it from the beginning, middle and end.
Makes sense.
And so that's the continuity there too. So that's the reason we put them in there.
Amen. Makes sense.
So to move on to new business, we have none listed in the agenda. You mentioned something that came in this afternoon. Is that something that we need to add here to our agenda?
So I have a question about this. It's complicated. I have to look into this on the planning side pretty carefully. So there was a subdivision that was approved back in 2019 called Eagles Landing that you might remember approving. That was at the time 25 lots. It's coming in as 24 lots. I don't think they'll get the 24 lots after I'm done with them, but
Is that the one here, this legislative form that was in the folder, talking about Wellhead Road?
so the question is, if it's substantially the same as it was, it pretty much is so far. Is that valid? Is that permit still valid? The subdivision itself was dissolved, so it no longer exists. But you do have a wetlands permit that should be valid for what, 5 years you have?
That's for a different plan now.
Yeah, except it's almost identical.
If they
But
don't,
it's
if they don't,
dissolved?
in your opinion, do they change it significantly? Because you're the planner. I mean, if they change the plan significantly.
No, they haven't.
So then,
So is it just a modification of that plan? Because there is, one fewer lot or that, if there is a slight change, or do you charge them the full thing?
So how do we just treat this with, off of the village there? He just came in late last year, early this year with a change to his plans too.
Yeah, but that was an active plan. It's sort of similar, yeah. And I think we just modified it.
So that,
I
to
mean,
me,
I
that
think I
sounds
just-
very similar. We're, the wetlands haven't changed, the markings haven't changed, just how we're subdividing the lots have changed.
A little bit, yeah.
With regards to any of that, does this change at all impact the wetlands in the form of bringing disturbances closer than they would be previously, or increasing the disturbed area?
Well, having just received it, 7 minutes ago or something, I don't know that, answer that question. The only question I would have is, I mean, it might be in their best interest to just start again, because when the timeline starts again, I haven't asked them that, but,
is there a bond involved, or is this a significant amount of money to do this again? In this permit?
Well,
We're one of the
permit
least
fees
expensive
Go towards, like offset the cost of staff review and such.
No, as a business guy, I look at cost versus.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's
Outcome,
just,
because if you're gonna extend another 5 years from the time the permit's issued, it may be their advantage to do that,
yeah.
you know?
What was the original permit?
When was it?
Yeah.
2018.
Mm,
They're almost out.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
probably will just want to do it full on.
Regardless of anything else, it would probably be wisest for them to start a new permit process rather than anything else. If it was something that, oh, they did it 6 months ago, I'd probably go the other way, but just as a matter of practicality, I would suggest that they start a new permit process.
It's probably cleaner, so you need to, I don't know if you guys vote to accept applications, but it would just be officially received today.
And we'd have to vote to amend our agenda. So at least, but then again, that starts the 65-day counter also. So if it's ready to be received, we would do so.
That's the question.
I haven't looked at it.
I haven't seen it. You said you
I
came
don't
across your
think
desk
any of
7
it,
minutes ago, it wasn't published as part of our agenda.
They gave it too late to get on, and you can vote to add it on and have it officially received, but they're not even presenting tonight, so.
So let's not do that.
Yeah,
All right, so it'll be on your next agenda, but just be aware it's in, and if you want, there's a problem with our scanner, so we haven't even gotten it scanned in to get out to you guys, but. There are some full-size copies if anybody wants to stop in and grab them.
Okay,
So aside from that discussion, there's no new business.
at this point in time.
So that moves us on to the wetlands official report. Mr. Johnson?
The only thing I had to bring up was the complaint that we had on Pheasant Run Drive. I went out there, there's a picture sent in of a brook. I guess that disappeared too. There was another,
Yeah, I can show.
Yeah, I added it onto the agenda and it
yeah,
disappeared somehow.
so.
Um,
I went out there, I met with both parties involved at different times, and the Mr. Hepburn has cleaned that out, and I think the stream's not, I mean, no, we're not talking a lot of flow through there.
Is that after cleaning?
Yeah, that was actually, there's not a whole, lot. It's just a, couple inches of water, and it's not that wide, and he cleaned it out, and so I went out there before he cleaned it. And I think he's, done what he was supposed to do. And it's not like it's a running brook. It dries up pretty much in the,
Have we asked them to take those bricks out though?
Well,
I think that was a debate about whether or not it was, wasn't it like whether it was on his property or if it was part of the association or.
he took some like small cement blocks out, but there's some red bricks in there, which that's kind of a bone of contention, because there's only a couple of them in there. She, at some point in time, she built a dam across the brook, which also, I mean, this like, you got, I don't know, I hate neighbor disputes, but anyway, she built the dam out of these red bricks across the brook years ago. And some of these look like the same. I can't imagine that brook flowed that fast to bring those bricks down that far down the stream. But they're the same type. And he says, hey, those were there when I bought the house a couple of years ago, whatever, I think 3 or 4 years ago. He says, those bricks were there and those are the same type that she had in it. So anyway, and they're not really impeding the flow. They're not really impeding the flow. They were there. He took the logs that were there out, just the brush and some of the other things, well, the bigger cement blocks, and clean that out. And I thought he did what he, his best effort to relieve the situation, hopefully. But anyway.
Ms. Hepburn was satisfied with the effort? Ms. Hepburn was satisfied with the effort?
Hepburn was the guy who's,
No, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Bryant.
well, I haven't asked her about that since then, but I think, it was my opinion that I think he did what needed to be done. And that, I mean, that's a sharp, like a 90-degree bend almost, it's, and the flow isn't very significant at all. I mean, it's probably with the weather, we haven't had much rain, well, of course, after the rain this week, we might have some water in there, but right now it's gotta be pretty dry. So I don't see any big issue with that. And I think he cleaned out what he was supposed to, and I would think it would be.
Can you just reach back to Ms. Bryant? She's addressed us twice on this issue, just close.
Okay, I'll call her up.
Thank you.
And did we have that complaint for them, the DEP thing?
Is that the notice of non-compliance at 10 Arrowhead Drive?
Who's it now?
It's in the folder.
Did you give them a copy?
That's the folder. Oh, this is the one that came just recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, that's title wetlands. That's nothing to do with us. That's not part of the town of Cove.
One of the points in here was above the coastal jurisdiction line, which is us.
Yeah, so they've been asked to remedy it, but I didn't know if you had to go inspect or something.
I looked at a aerial photograph of that, and there was no inland wetlands on there. And all that wall and stuff, I think, was built on the cove.
It says it determined that construction-related activities or section of the new wall may have been conducted within areas of inland wetlands and water courses without the approval of the town.
Yeah, so where it becomes our jurisdiction is on the land side of that, the coastal jurisdiction line.
Above the
So
high tide.
Deep has it up to that line, wouldn't it? Yeah, like Mr. Rowe was saying, that's the high tide line,
All right.
high tide mark. So I just asked to follow up on this, will you just, though I was take a look at it and see if any actions required from the town on this?
Yeah,
I understand the water side of the line is Deep's responsibility.
Yeah, if it's all beyond the high tide point, we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, but they're saying that it isn't all there.
No, I'm saying it's in both.
It has been determined that construction-related activities may have been conducted.
Landward of the CJO without a lawful coastal site plan activity. Or site plan approval from the town later pursuant to Connecticut other statutes.
Okay,
Here.
that's worth looking at.
Yeah, so we just follow up on this and see if we have any responsibility. Make sure the homeowner can help them out to adjudicate this properly.
Yeah, that's, like, that coastal area is pretty. I was involved in a federal lawsuit in Preston when I did a cease and desist there on a pocket, right across the cove from this property, actually. Yeah. And they took us to court on that, and the state told us, stay away from that coastal area. And it's not your jurisdiction, so I'm kind of reluctant to, but no, I'll look into it further and actually, I just drove by there coming over here and I couldn't even see where that was, but I'll take a look at it and see what they did.
And if we have other correspondence with deep that, kind of define that the coastal jurisdiction line and where deep responsibility ends, and
Yeah.
town's responsibility begins, just to clarify the general statutes.
Okay.
I wonder.
There's another piece of paper in the folders here for 123 Wellhead Drive. It doesn't seem to apply to anything we had going on tonight. I don't know what
What's
this
in
is
the
about.
Ledgeline Health District? Can I see it?
Yeah.
Is this for the subdivision? Yeah, this is for the subdivision. And,
So that's where it goes.
830G subdivision.
Next month.
All right, so
Or the house, it could be the single family house as well.
not relevant to this meeting?
No.
Thank you.
And Steve Masalin had sent him a letter just confirming what the wetlands report was and agreeing with the course of action to.
Yep, and then we referred to that while we were discussing it. It wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't think it was worth reading out loud because all it says, I agree. All right, moving on to correspondence. Do you have any correspondence here for the month?
Just Corey Watford is resigning from the commission.
We'll take that as long as we move to announcements. Mr. Watford?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
All right, so we had some correspondence from you noting you're resigning from our commission. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right, so hey, it's a pleasure doing this with you for as long as we have.
Yes, agreed.
Thanks for all
Everyone will be missed.
thanks for all the help that you gave to us. And I wish you luck wherever you end up.
You're very welcome.
Any further announcements?
No, I'm good.
Moving on for minutes approval. So you all have a draft copy of the regular minutes from last meeting, May 3rd.
Yeah.
You've had a chance to review them prior to the meeting. Not right now. What's that? Be looking for a motion to approve the amendments or disapprove?
Excuse me, there's just a couple of little typographical errors. I just submit them.
Yeah.
They're not a big deal.
Yeah, so what we do in that case, we just, we'll make note of it and then we approve it as amended. So,
That's a pretty significant one.
Good.
what do you got?
Nothing.
Just
We
some
won't
typos.
say it out
Yeah,
loud.
yeah, typo.
Not a big deal. So I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Well, what are the amendments?
We should probably
A
know.
bad word was changed to a good word. How about that?
Jokes inside.
Understood.
Yeah, we'll just.
It seemed to make sense when I was reading it. too.
Yeah.
I read it
Brendon
as it
make
should
more
have.
sense.
For decency's sake, we're not gonna read that aloud.
We're good.
Okay, so I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I made the motion.
All right, motion to approve as amended by Ms. Reevy,
I'll second
and a
it.
second by Mr. Peeler. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor, motion passes, minutes are approved. All right, move on here to meeting review. So we had quorum, that was confirmed. So we have all of our materials ahead of time. Well,
Yes, very nicely done.
yes, so thank you for that. So able to review them, made that go pretty smoothly. From last meeting, when we did the meeting review, we talked about lacking some clarity in the forms and the fees. So took a look at that,
Mhm.
and I agree with you, in our regulations, it is not clear. However, the town ordinance does give a little bit more definition
Mhm.
about what's required. So just for the commission members, maybe start looking over our regulations. Might be time to start reviewing them again for update. Yeah.
Again?
I expected those dirty looks.
I didn't mean to do that, I think.
No, I expected Mrs. Thompson to be here to give me those dirty looks. I got it from you, so.
I mean, I think it was just more confusion of, is this a pre-application, what, what do we charge them if we don't know what the kind of application is going to be?
So that actually is defined as no fee.
Right, does that delay it a whole month then? Because
So
what if
that's
they
pre,
come in-
I took that as a pre-application review. It's not really delaying anything because there's no application at that point.
Right, so if they don't want to do the pre-application review, so do we count on Len to figure out what kind of application it should be?
So, well, it's for upland review area, that's, defined here, I'm reading from the town ordinance now, right? Residential accessory structures and their additions or expansions, existing structures up to 1,000 square feet, including not limited to sheds, additions, swimming pools. Whereas residential use, everything else would fall under residential uses, which would be the full application.
Okay, so a house is always the full application?
Yeah.
Okay,
The existing homeowner wants to knock down his deck and add a couple square feet, so it goes around his swimming pool, that's more upland review area.
that's good.
Does
I
that
think
help?
that, yeah, it just, we had 3 different forms and the 2 URA forms, it was confusing as to, like, one was free, but one wasn't. And we couldn't
Yeah,
figure out-
I agree. I went through our regulations pretty close to find that definition that wasn't there.
Mm,
I found it here in the town ordinance.
Yeah, and that's what we have in our book.
Yeah, this used to be in our regulations.
So, like, just to clarify, so you're saying if it's a new house, then that cannot be considered upland review area?
That's gonna require full permit, because it requires a lot
Okay.
more time here from staff. Like, whereas if you're gonna review a shed.
Yep.
Like just gonna order something from Potter Farms, bring it in, that requires a much less of your time.
Sure.
Take a much less requirements to put it down.
But if you had a permit that had, say, they're building a new house and a portion of the garage is in the review area, you'd have to go and have the whole plan come before the commission?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to clarify that, so I don't sign off on the wrong things,
Yeah, I say you'll have time to start reviewing. Maybe we could add that definition back into our regulations. It was removed when this became part of the town ordinance. When we last passed our regulations, the fee structure was in our regulations.
We put in the.
And then since it was
Yeah.
removed,
we put
yeah,
in the
the
appendix.
appendix was removed and superseded by this town ordinance, which was approved late 2020.
And so then, like.
So that-
Chidley
And
Way
that was to allow the
subdivision,
fees to change.
Right, that Chidley Way
Right,
one that
which-
they do.
The labor demands,
Not Chidley, whatever
the cost of that
they
change
do.
more frequently than our regulations will.
That one. I said he had to sign off on it first.
Was that 8 Gary Fraser? We looked at a couple recently.
Isn't there a house one in your file?
But those were in wetlands areas. Those two in that subdivision?
I'll have to look. Because the other scenario is they've come in for a subdivision approval. And now it's a site plan for the house as shown in the subdivision approval.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do say, come back in for the actual site plan to verify, so. we would
Yeah, usually we
charge it.
stipulate that when we approve the subdivision though too.
Yeah, okay. I think I got
Yeah, but
it.
the ones I just looked at tonight, those were not in the 100-foot review area, so.
One of them was, that's why I'll find it afterwards. We'll take a look at that.
Anyone else here have anything to add for our meeting review?
I'm good.
All right, last item on the agenda is adjournment.
All right.
So motion to adjourn.
So.
Motion by Mr. Reese, second by Mr. Pillar. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. It's time 7:35.
Just,